Hello everybody. In today's video we are going to discuss the topic of philosophy in the Islamic world. We have to say that philosophy, without any doubt, have played a very important role in human society throughout many centuries. Starting, of course, the Greek philosophers. We have that with time philosophy came to be expanded and became part of the theological arguments of the three great monotheistic religions, Judaism, Christianity and Islam. We know that this Greek knowledge, the knowledge of the Greek philosophers, then it was taken up by the Christian during the Roman Empire, and we have some great writings in Latin. And then when Islam came, then also the Muslim thinkers took the knowledge of the philosophy of the Greeks, and then they applied this knowledge in order to interpret and try to conciliate reason, logic with the knowledge of the Quran, the revelation from God. And this is very important and fundamental to have a clear understanding of the development of these philosophical ideas and the influence within the theology and the understanding of how we see things in the modern world. Because today sometimes we don't realize how much do we owe to philosophy, into the thinking of these great sages of the past, that sometimes even when we're trying to have when we're having an argument or we're trying to prove a point to someone, we might be using unconsciously philosophical arguments of logic and rhetoric without we even knowing it. And this is fundamental to explain. There's a good book, and I did one short video one time, make a book recommendation about it. It's Philosophy in the Islamic World by Professor Peter Adamson, a professor of late classics and Islamic philosophy, and he explains clearly in his book all of the great Arabic and Islamic philosophers. And he says, of course, it's more appropriate to say philosophy in the Islamic world and not Muslim philosophy or Arabic philosophy. Why? Because first of all, if we say Arabic philosophy, that's limiting in reality what happened the people who developed philosophy, because in reality very few were actually Arabs. The majority were either Persians or from other parts of the Muslim world. Therefore we could say Muslim philosophers, but then if we say Muslim philosophers, then we are leaving out other people who wrote philosophy in Arabic also with Islamic culture themselves. And we're talking about Christians who were Arabs and Jews who were Arabs of Arabic culture, and they spoke in Arabic. Their culture was also Arabic. Therefore it's more appropriate to speak and say philosophy in the Islamic world, because if we say philosophy in the Islamic world, we can mention the three in the context of the people who wrote philosophy at the time in Arabic. It doesn't matter of their religion, if they were Jews, Christian or Muslims. The fact is that their culture was also the Islamic culture, because they were under the Islamic Empire. Therefore their language was Arabic and they wrote in Arabic. And again, we cannot say neither Arabic philosophy because very few were actually Arabs, meaning as a race or as a tribe or anything like that. No. Even we have to say that the greatest philosophers, the one who brought more knowledge, were actually from Persia, from Iran, either in philosophy or even in the Muslim theology. The great masters were basically all coming from Iran, from Persia. And regarding this, then if we amplify and say, okay, philosophy in the Islamic world, then we can appreciate and understand the context of all this interchange of ideas. Because we have to say that when the Muslims took the knowledge of the Greek and they translated all of this ancient knowledge from Greek into Arabic, the ones who translated these books were actually Jews and Christians, especially Christians who were Christian Arabs. And Christians, Jews and Muslims, they work together in translating all these ancient texts. And we know, of course, that since these are religions of the book, they were allowed to stay in the Islamic Empire. And many of them worked for the caliphs and for the kings and for the many other rulers. And we have great philosophers such Ibn Sina from Persia, Al-Farabi, Al-Kindi, even Tufail. We have, of course, from Andalusia, Al-Andalus, the two biggest philosophers of all Al-Andalus in the 12th century was one a Jew and a Muslim. Abu Imran Musa ibn Maimonides, the Jewish philosopher who was also a doctor, expert in law. He was the doctor of the Sultan Salah ad-Din was Maimonides, a Jew, and his family after also, and the advisor for him. And then the other great one philosopher from Al-Andalus was Averroes, Ibn Rushd, that both of them were from the same city, from Cordoba. And therefore, the point that Professor Adamson is emphasizing, and I think he's clear in this, is that it's more appropriate to say philosophy in the Islamic world, because within the Islamic world then we have many people, it doesn't matter, different religions, but the development of philosophy and these thoughts was in relation with all of this, because they were engaged, all of them were engaged in translating these ancient texts and writing about it, explaining it. All of them read books from each other, because, for example, Maimonides got his philosophy from Al-Farabi, who was Muslim. A Jew learned from a Muslim, and vice versa. Maimonides also influenced Islamic thinkers and Muslim thinkers, and was a great, like I said, interchange of knowledge. It's like today. Today, when we go to the university, we don't think who wrote the book of mathematics or physics or chemistry. Who cares if he was what his religion? We're talking about knowledge. If you're going to the school and learn mathematics, you never think who invented these all formulas, if it was a Christian or whatever. You simply study the knowledge. Mathematics, physics, chemistry, philosophy, anything. The same in the old days. Therefore, the point is that in the time of the Islamic empires, there was a great flourishing of philosophy, and from people from different branches of religion, but the culture and the language was the same, Arabic in this case. And it's not appropriate to say again only Arabic philosophy, even though they mostly always written in Arabic, because sometimes some of them also wrote in other languages. For example, Ibn Sina, the greatest philosopher, wrote in Arabic, yes, but he wrote some treatises also in Persian. Maimonides wrote in Arabic, but also he wrote some treatises in Hebrew. And like that, other great philosophers also wrote in different languages, and with time we have these kind of things, especially other later Persian philosophers wrote in Persian, like Khosrow. I forgot his first name, but his surname is Khosrow, meaning by like the great king. But this philosopher also wrote in some dialects even of Persian. The point is that having this clear picture, then we notice how then for example, within Islam, philosophy was used, like I said, to develop rational thinking and philosophical argumentation in order to explain theological things and topics. For example, the great Muslim thinkers, specifically in Islam I'm speaking now, they thought also that there was great truths hidden in the philosophy, in the knowledge of the Greeks, when they spoke about the universe, the cosmos, the atoms, the soul. And then they say, okay, how can we reconcile this knowledge of philosophy with revelation? How can we explain revelation in logical and rational terms? How can we explain prophecy in rational terms? Could it be explained? Is there reconciliation with this kind of knowledge? How do we explain the eternity of the universe? It was created, eternal, ex nihilo. So how the prophets, the messengers from God, how they were able to achieve and get this great knowledge? How do we explain this rationally? So we see how the knowledge of the philosopher, because from philosophy comes all of the great later on branches, such as psychology, for example, politics. All of these things were spoken and debated, especially by Aristotle. Aristotle is the greatest philosopher of all time, in all branches, in all religions, all over. Everybody just look into Aristotle. They criticize him a lot, but the point is that all of them consider him the greatest master. And from him learn all of them, Christian, Jews, Muslims, everybody. And even later on, when, for example, Ibn Sina in the Islamic world, Ibn Sina, of course, without doubt, is considered the greatest philosophy in the Muslim world. Ibn Sina was from Persia, from what is Iran. And even Professor Adamson clearly explains now that we have to divide the philosophy in the Muslim world before Ibn Sina and after Ibn Sina, because then even if you agree with him or disagree with him, that's not the point. It's like all the later philosophers and theologians and experts in religion, the scholars, the sheikhs, the imams, all of them, they're trying to refute Ibn Sina and then try to explain, and they agree, disagree, but the point is that they have to count from Ibn Sina. And it's amazing, you know, the development of these ideas and the exchange of knowledge that was taking place at that time, especially how it was later on taken by the experts of what we know, the Ilm al-Kalam, these experts, or the mutakallimun, how they call them, that they try to explain, like I said, religion in a logical and rational way, because things should be explained rationally. Some things cannot be understood simply by reasoning. Some things are accepted. There's no answer for certain things, but others can be explained rationally. And a believer have to. It's not simply believe things blindly. You have to know what do you believe, why do you believe, what's the explanation, what's the meaning of things. And therefore, that's why the knowledge of philosophy was used in Islam, and it is used today also. Even, like I said, people don't even know or realize it, but even unconsciously this knowledge is used even up to our days, because it have become part of the culture. And we have all the great schools of the time, the Muta'assila, the Al-Ash'ariyya, all of these great schools, they took all the philosophy, the knowledge, and the way of rational and argumentation and rhetorics to develop the whole theology of religion. And all the debates of all the great schools of thought in Islam, as we know them, until this day use philosophical reasoning and argumentation. That's why, God willing, we want to make a series of videos about all of these great philosophers, Muslims philosophers, but also more appropriate, like the Professor Adamson says, Islamic philosophy, philosophy in the Islamic world. So within this big umbrella we can cover all of the great thinkers of that time in the 9th and 12th centuries. And I think it's a good series that I want to develop, and God willing we are going to talk about this, because again this is the thought that is even present up to this day in the Islamic religion, in the religion we have it today, and people don't even know from where the knowledge came from. We have to look into that, because yeah, as scholars we have to study these things, we have to look into these things at the university, but the common people don't know basically about this stuff, and it's important to discuss it and to explain. And it's something that I want to do in this channel, is to bring in high level of knowledge, not simply saying things because of saying things. No, high level of reasoning and understanding and information that I want to explain and expound in this channel. And I think this is a good topic to mention about all of these great philosophers who wrote in Arabic of Islamic culture. And when I say Islamic culture, I don't mean necessarily the Islamic religion, but the Islamic religion, all the knowledge from the Quran was present in all the culture that then was taken by, like I said, Muslims, Christians, Jews, and many others who live also within the Islamic Empire. I want to thank you so much for your attention. If you have comments about this, you're welcome to include them. If you agree with me, that's good. If you disagree with me, that's even better that you disagree with me, because I don't expect that you simply accept what I'm saying. If you have the ability of thinking and rational understanding, you have to disagree with me, because this is what the student must do with his teacher. The greatest student is the one who disagrees with the professor, and he sometimes even go against the professor and criticize the professor. He has a point. He has a logical and valid way to prove why he's going against the professor, and not simply because he wants to do it. No, if you have a clear and a better argument, okay, present your ideas and present your argument, and never be afraid because, oh, such a great scholar said such a great thing. No, who cares if he's a great scholar? If you have your opinion, if you have proof and points that validate your argument, you have to present them. This is one of the things that they teach us at the university. For us, like me, that I am a scholar in training. I mean, I haven't finished my studies yet, and God willing, I'm starting my masters now. But this is one of the things that they teach us. Yeah, we learn from all these great masters and sages and scholars. Yeah, okay, these are great people, great mind. They know them all over the world. But we cannot be afraid to disagree with them, to criticize them, and even go against them, because that is expected, because we are also scholars in ourselves. And at the same time, the videos and the information I am presenting, if you think it's beneficial for you, great. If you think in another way, that's even better. And like I said, it's good to have your own opinion also, and because again, the objective of all of the videos I'm presenting here is just to make you think, to simply, I cannot talk for hours, but simply present basic information and motivate you to research, to look more into the topic, to learn more into the topic, and then arrive at your own conclusions. Never accept anything from anyone. Who cares if he's the biggest scholars in the world? If you have your own opinion, that's your opinion. That's important, to have your own clear understanding of things. This is something that I always emphasize this to all of the people who listen to me, either in this channel or in any other channel. And my professors emphasize and teach us these things also to us, to analyze, think, and research. Never accept things just because this. No, you have to look into the topic. You have to, this kind of information videos is just to open the appetite, like they say, for knowledge, for learning, for searching. And as always, thank you so much for your attention, and God willing, we'll see each other in the next video.